This is brought to you by joinyaa.com. Previously on Go Big.
And Andre just pulled up with his overlanding rig, and that is a Cadillac Escalade.
We were supposed to bring different vehicles, right? Why is he bringing a GM?
Whoa! Dude!
Nathan! The church van has arrived.
What is with these headlights? And a zip tie right there, holding on that crest. That's awesome.
What is this white powder in the... Oh, can't touch that. DEA's after me.
Why is it rusting so badly?
Yeah, look at that right around the windshield. You could literally see parts of the vehicle falling off. That is chunks of metal that are flaking off. What died in here?
Don't rip it off.
Oh, there we go. This thing has more rust on it than the Titanic.
Well, I gotta say, your cloth seats are majestic.
And comfortable.
All right, first drag race. It's V10 versus V8.
Really gotta slam it. Alright, now we're safe.
All right, everything is green except for this truck.
In this episode of No Payment Needed Go Big, we're going to find out who bought the best and the worst large SUV. And to do that, we've come to German Auto.
Toby, how's it going today, my man?
Dude, Toby is now a legend on the channel, and he's going to give us the cold, hard truth. And we're going to find out which one is the best and the worst. Andre, you want to go cheapest first?
Yeah, how about we do this? The GMC was the least expensive. Then it was a Cadillac Escalade.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a Ford Excursion. The GMC belongs to Tommy.
Ooh, nice.
Escalade is mine.
Ooh, caddy owner.
And then the Excursion is Nathan's.
Ooh.
All right, I'll give you this first. Go get some gloves and a hazmat on, because it's kind of gnarly in there.
Wow, what is that?
Is there a bird under there?
No,
a squirrel.
no bird. No.
Yeah, just pull it in. You'll see. We get it on the lift, and it's going to be perfect.
That's what it sounds like.
I have a question first. Is this lift, will it be able to lift these guys?
It will lift these units.
Okay.
Only one I haven't been able to lift yet is the Dodge Cummins with a utility box in the back.
Okay.
And all the tools included.
Okay.
I thought it was running a little rough when I started it. You could feel a little...
Little shake?
Yeah.
It should be perfect,
I wanted to listen to it while it was idling and make sure she sounded smooth and... Overall, it sounds decent.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear that?
Decent.
Decent.
Are you going for decent?
That's a C- grade right there. C's get degrees, Andre.
And if you're talking zip ties, we're talking decent.
The zip tie holding the intake to the throttle body. It's an interesting choice that GM did that back in the late 90s.
I don't think that's GM.
I think the valve cover looks a little...
Yeah, I've seen worse. It's not dripping on the exhaust manifold yet. I'm not going to start on fire quite yet, but it's going to need a valve cover job eventually. It's leaking a little oil. You can see all the buildup.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Speaking of oil, does it have any in it? Did you check the dipstick before you bought it, Tommy?
I did. Yes, I did.
So you were thinking with use, huh?
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at that. It's over full. But it's...
That's why it's leaking.
But it's pretty clean. Well, no, they put extra in it so it can leak out.
There you go. Now tell me, do you like these old, like, 90s GMC trucks and SUVs? Are they okay?
Overall, they were decent for what they were made for, but back in the 90s, they stopped basically making them to last that high mileage. Basically, they made them to last about 100,000 miles, and then you got to really put a lot of money into them to bring them back to life.
Okay.
So I'm guessing this is going to be about the second round of this thing's going to need to come back to life if you want to continue.
Gotcha.
Another 50, plus K.
Gotcha. So AC I know doesn't work.
So you discovered that yourself, huh?
Yep.
Well, my first problem here is this compressor feels like it's barely ever spun in its life. It's probably been sitting a long time.
Oh, gotcha.
But it does spin, and it's not locked up. So that's the first thing you'll always check for is a seized compressor. Because that can seize, or it can break and actually become loose. The whole clutch disc can come loose on it. So in that opinion, the next step would probably be to check all the fuses, and then go from there on an AC recharge.
Gotcha.
Is my opinion.
Okay, cool.
Serpentine belt looks really good. There's no dry cracking inside of it. Nothing like that. Check the fan clutch and make sure you got no play any water pump with the fan clutch itself, which looks pretty tight actually. Give the radiator a little peek because I do smell a little antifreeze somewhere under the hood, but
Jeez, you can hardly see that radiator.
yeah, they shoved it in there a little bit, but overall I don't see any massive coolant leaks.
So remember that like stutter you're feeling at startup? So I ran an OBD test on it. It passed emissions, doesn't have any codes, but they actually noticed that it had a fault with the O2 sensor.
Oxygen sensor, is it a heater code or is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, so it had an oxygen sensor code. Has it ever been reset?
No.
Yeah, first step would be to reset it and
See if it
shut
goes
it
away.
off and then drive it a little bit and then recheck it. If it comes back, you definitely need an oxygen sensor. It's common, especially with the mileage you have.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of them on these 5.7s. See if you guys bought one with clean brake fluid for once. I don't know. I don't know if I've... Oh, power steering fluid is black. So...
Is that good?
Not the best. You know, I like pink fluid when I look at them, but you know, it's not the end of the world to do a quick flush on the power steering system. But
Black is on the spectrum of pink.
yeah, 210K. You know, it's to be expected. Let's be honest. Oh, beautiful. Just to be expected. You know, I haven't seen Tommy buy.
dark.
I haven't seen Tommy buy one with what they call clear brake fluid yet. So you know, we'll just add that to the list. He's gonna need a brake fluid flush.
Toby, you're lucky I checked the oil out.
He did good. He's learning one thing at a time. Before I know it, he's putting me out of business.
The next 4 vehicles, maybe by the 4th one, I'll get the power steering and the brake fluid done.
Man, he's gonna be saving hundreds of dollars before you know it, all with his eyes.
Oh, we don't need to check that.
Let's
no,
check
that's
that.
probably okay.
Huh? We're looking for color. We're not looking for, you know, height-wise right now. We're just looking at color, and it smells good.
It's got pinkish.
You see
or
that?
Reddish.
Should we show that to him, just so he knows what pink looks like? Yeah, just in case. For the next time, you know, next
There
time.
you go. There you go. I'm going with I'm colorblind. That's gonna be my new excuse.
It's a Vortec, though. Come on now.
See what kind of minty fresh gems we get under this beast.
You sure you want me to start looking, Tommy? Alright. Start checking some bushings out and a few other, you know. I can tell you have a bad ball joint on this thing by the way it's squeaking when you tune it, or a steering component that's really dry because of the squeak, squeak, squeak you got going on. So we'll have to start checking some of the tie rod ends and some of the steering on this thing to make sure nothing's about to fall off.
Gotcha.
How many miles you planning on putting on this unit?
Oh,
100.
yeah, at least 100.
100 miles?
I mean, we should base this off like what it would take to get it back into like a good, perfectly safe driving condition.
Perfectly safe?
Okay.
Definitely has some oil leaks just by visually looking at it. You can see some oil up here and running down from the front, which is probably the front crank seal.
Okay.
Possibly a small oil pan gasket leak as well because it's running back the motor here, dripping off the starter. So you definitely have small oil leaks. Out of you guys, it's actually not as bad as most of them I've seen. Oil filter housing, there's a gasket up underneath the oil filter housing back here, and you can see a little bit of residual oil dripping off that as well. Basically, a really cheap O-ring lives behind that unit, so you got to unbolt it and lose a little oil and clean it up and put a new O-ring in it. So that's not the end of the world to fix that one.
Gotcha.
Well, basically, the front diff, you got a little buildup right here on the four-wheel drive actuator. This is the electronic four-wheel drive for the front diff, which locks in the front diff. And you do have mainly dry, you know, a little buildup here. Problem's going to be over here on this side where the CV axle actually goes in.
Oh, okay.
There's an output seal, they call it, in the front diff, and it's puking. And it's spraying, actually, as it spins, it's spraying fluid front to back. So that would be something that would be, definitely want to check the fluid, make sure it's full up front in the meantime before you fix it, and then go from there on a new seal. Looks like you bought one with a couple, you got about 45-50% of brake pad on this one up front, Tommy. That's not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. A little squishy.
Are they a little spongy?
Yeah, it could be a master maybe.
Yeah, I would probably recommend that brake flush because that fluid's so filthy and nasty. They might actually have an air pocket in the system too, so
Okay.
a brake flush would be the first step on that, and then you see if that goes away, and if not, you're talking master cylinders definitely in your future. So these bushings, you can see big cracks in them. There is actually no play in them, they're just very, very dried out.
Okay.
So, you know, the age of it, the mileage, that's to be expected. Unless they're loose, I basically tell people save money, don't do them, you know, because it's not falling off and not causing the wheels to actually start to wear unevenly or nothing like that.
The control arms are okay, it looks like.
Well, but they're not bad, I can tell you that, if that's what you want to say. So you can see the play in that ball joint right there. That lower ball joint has a lot of play in it. I've seen a lot worse. Seems like the upper ball joint is pretty tight.
Alright, cool.
Definitely a small bit of play in that tie rod end. Not dangerous or nothing though.
That's a serious channel lock right
Same
there.
with that unit. You got just a minimal amount of play here and there. Which for 210, that's actually, you know, not the end of the world. I've seen a lot worse for 210.
So do you think it was maybe redone?
Oh, definitely. Someone's been through this front end probably a few times by now.
Wow.
You can tell that ball joint's actually got a lot more tight.
The other one.
Yeah, it's not moving at all, so. And this is just a quick ball joint check. Usually I'll put them on jack stands and pry them with the pry bar to verify, but just the quick check is better than no check on them. Yeah, all your tie rod ends from what I see have the minute amount of play, but nothing I would say do now, you know, dangerous. I would say, you know, in another 6 months to a year, you're gonna have to do some overhauling the steering.
Okay.
Well, that's a shame, Tommy. I was hoping that your
I know,
your steering would be bad.
the look of shock on my face right now is pretty amazing.
Well, that's good. You know, I'd like to see at least something that's looking decent.
Toby's like, you bought one at least. It's not about to cause a road incident.
Yeah, Other thing is I like to check at some of these diff bushings and make sure the front diff is tight. Seems to be. It's good news for you. Smack some of the Cadillac converters. Not rattling too bad. Minimal exhaust. Well, it's actually pretty clean. That's the first thing I've seen is these exhausts will rust out before anything on most of these vehicles. So if you check the muffler and overall, she's looking pretty clean. Check the drive shaft. Ooh, you can see you got a nice little
Oh yeah,
leak
transfer
there.
case leak.
Yeah, T-case output seal, which is right there out of the drive shaft, and it's actually slinging it. Like I said, it spins, so it slings it everywhere. You definitely have a small leak right here out of this rear end seal. Pinion seal, they call it. So the front pinion and the seal behind it's leaking just a minimal amount.
Okay.
So you're lucky because when it's bad, it'll start slinging and it'll end up everywhere.
So not too bad yet.
No, not too bad. So I wouldn't worry about that yet. Again, I would probably check the fluid, make sure it's full for you, and then go from there. You know, it might need a service because it doesn't look like anyone's been in there in a long time, just visually. You know, you usually take the cover off and do a good job to re-glue it and do a service to it. So, and someone's definitely been in here replacing shocks. I don't know if you noticed that, but
Yeah.
front and back shocks were, I'm not sure the brand on them, but they're relatively new. Which
Okay.
is
That's cool.
good news for you. And usually I like to look at the leaf spring packs because sometimes the leaf springs snap in half on some of these trucks, especially with higher mileage. So you always want to just look for hairline cracks in them and stuff like that. Next step would probably be we could take one of these plugs out back here and we could probably look at your shoe life real quick through there actually. And it looks like about 60-ish% of shoe life left from what I can see through the inspection hole.
So there's actually a little hole there.
Yeah, they call them an inspection hole. They put a little cover in them. Most vehicles have them, but not all of them.
You can see the. In Colorado, we started using salt and like it started just to build up everywhere. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
that white. Yeah, that white residue is all that nasty road grime salt building up.
Totally.
I know because in the wintertime it drips and I taste it. It's really salty. You can see all your hoses and all your stuff, your rear heater and the AC in the back, all those hoses from the front.
Oh, is that what those are?
Yeah, so they
Oh.
run from the front all the way to the back.
So that's for like your heating system.
Yeah, the rear heating, the coolant
Wow.
actually flows all the way from the front up those pipes and the Freon for
Dude,
the
that's
AC.
crazy.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you have the back heating and AC on these units. All this fluid seems to be coming down out of that seal.
Out of the transfer case.
Yeah. You got to watch out though. These transfer cases are known to wear a hole in the side of the case. Something goes bad internally in the transfer case and starts wearing a hole inside of it.
What? Like a through hole through the...
Yeah, right through the housing.
Dude.
Which right there kind of scares me. I don't know what that buildup is, but...
Is that because like the chain gets loose inside?
Yeah, there's a big metal piece that comes loose inside there and breaks and then starts rubbing, you know, because it's spinning, rubs on the case. And then these leaks, for what you got and the money you got into it, I wouldn't be, you know, I might fix this oil filter housing, you know, that's about it. So I would definitely, you know, try to fix that because it's usually cheap and not the end of the world. And if you are going to be four-wheeling and locking it in all the time, they're expensive. If you let it get low and burn up the front diff, they're expensive to replace.
So for 4K, better or worse than you thought?
Nowadays, it's actually better than I thought because it is really hard to get a vehicle nowadays for $4,000. It's sad, but especially an SUV with four-wheel drive and, you know, $200,000, don't get me wrong, but, you know, for 4K, it passed emissions.
Yep.
You're driving it.
Yep.
So that's a good starter kit. You know, you're going to probably have to put another couple thousand into it to bring it back to life and make it safe and good and feel confident behind it for now. But, you know, I think you did decent from what I can see. There's going to be the unforeseen, you know, that we don't see now until you go out there and, you know, give it a little and test it out a little bit. But
see what breaks.
We'll worry about that when the time comes.
Okay, Toby, so that was the $4,000 machine. Now prepare for ultimate luxury. And look at this. You see this pouch? This is how it came. So this is the 2003 Escalade right there.
So the key goes in the pouch?
I hope so.
Or is that for unknown substances?
No substances, dude. It's all...
Oh, it's got the key ring and... Oh, beautiful. Someone paid a lot of money for that.
Now, I want your first impression. So please open it and let the people know your first impression. Please. No, inside. What? That's your first impression?
Oh my. How am I supposed to open it? The door handle's about to rip off.
Oh, it's fine.
Sure. Oh!
What?
You drove here in this?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Did these come with it?
Yes.
I think they're holding in some more smells. We should probably throw those away. The smells are unbearable. I'm glad I got gloves on. Can't tell if it was a cigarette smoke mixed with cologne. Whew. It's potent. To give them that. I'm gonna roll down a few windows, just, you know, excuse me. Little loud, wouldn't you say?
Can you feel that American power?
I don't only feel it, but I can smell it.
So you're gonna do the same check?
I would just like to listen to the motor
Okay.
and verify when it's running.
Okay.
Man, you should
What do
have
you think about this?
You picked up a nice grill at least.
This was not me. This came like this.
So is that factory?
No. Well, is this factory?
Well, to some people, doesn't sound too bad actually.
You want me to rev it?
If you like, for me to listen to some, you know, elegant power. Easy, big guy. Easy, big guy. Sounds pretty decent, actually. I don't hear nothing too bad. I definitely, you know.
Better than decent or just decent?
Sounds decent, you know. You might have a little exhaust down there, you know. I can tell you right now, just without even looking, you got a pretty decent leak over here.
What is that?
So what this is you got the brake master cylinder, which bolts to the thing they call the hydro boost system on these GMs, which gives you the power assist steering. And the power brakes and the assist go through that same unit, and it's leaking fluid, which is common on these. So it's going to need a new hydro boost unit, they call it, to fix this leak.
That sounds a little bit expensive.
Most of the time they can be $400 to $500 plus labor. Yeah, another culprit is some bad brake fluid in there. It's pretty greenish flavored. Same thing, you got some transmission cooler hoses over here, and you can see they're wet right there. Little baby cooler hose, so you're leaking probably a little bit of transmission fluid. We'll have to look from the bottom and see what kind of trail we have going on. Did this unit pass emissions yet for you?
Yeah, it did. It did pass emissions.
And someone changed the oil for you recently, or did it come?
I have no idea.
Came with some honey, so that's good. Clean, looks like honey. You did good this time on that behalf.
Okay.
Got one fluid.
Okay. Look at let's smell the tranny.
Yeah. See how pink she is, and see the color. And you can see it's not the pinkest. It's a little pink, but it's a little dirty as well.
How does it smell? Better than the inside?
Yes, I give it that. But it is on its way to what they call being burned, the transmission fluid. When it gets hot and heated up a little much, it actually burns the fluid a little bit.
How's
That's
it
a good
cooling?
start. If you look at it, it's really pink in color, and it actually looks really good, and it doesn't look low. It looks full. And smelling under the hood visually, just with a quick smell test, I don't smell any antifreeze and don't smell nothing.
And Grandma, I think, put K&N in there. I think.
Well,
Well, that's what that says.
you never know. Did Grandma leave the screw loose too when she put it in? Because you got a screw loose on your other box.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She probably didn't have the long Phillips to get in there.
Right.
Looks like your drive belt's pushing limits on being dry cracked. It's actually really hard to see on this unit. You have to come in from the sides, basically, but yeah, you can see there's some dry cracking and some fraying going on in different spots. So that would definitely be one of my first recommendations, would probably be a drive belt. Because if you lose that, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
No water pump, no alternator, and you ain't going far.
Toby, please keep this in mind. This 2003 Cadillac Escalade is a second generation. This is the pinnacle of their engineering for that generation. Okay? Keep that in mind.
So you're saying it was the best of the worst, or the best of the best?
I'm saying it's highly advanced. It's got a fancy suspension system. It's got air suspension in the rear. It's got a 6 CD changer inside. It's got navigation. It has a lot of stuff.
So more stuff to go wrong. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, exactly.
But it's got the best of the best.
Yes. So let's look underneath.
Yeah, let's check out some of the leaks first that we've seen from the top and verify what we're looking at. So you can see the drips right here. That's the transmission cooler hoses I pointed out from up top. You can see it dripping. Both of the transmission cooler hoses are leaking. So we're going to have to check your fluid because you can see she's dripping off the bottom.
It's not good.
Yeah, so that's going to have to be addressed pretty quick. Otherwise, you're going to be losing fluid, and it can cause transmission issues if you get too low on fluid. See, actually, through the fender well there, that's that hydro boost. It's got a couple drips actually coming off the bottom there. As I said, most of them are leaking all the way down here to the bottom that I see. That's definitely time to fix it. So I believe you do have a little time on that leak. Save a little money. And eventually going to have to fix that one.
How we doing?
Not super.
We just started.
Transmission cooler is leaking. Hydro boost system for the brake and the steering is leaking.
Oh, this is Hydro Boost.
Yes. Remember the Hummer H2?
I remember that.
Yes.
And it looks like, to me, the engine oil cooler hoses are seeping. They're actually not bad enough. They go up to the radiator there, and you can see a little bit of moisture on them and a little bit of a wetness on the backside. It's leaking out the crimps on the rubber hose. I would leave those alone for now because it's actually not dripping off the front diff or leaking down. But back here, I'm seeing something that scares me a little bit more.
What?
Well, you got oil leaking really bad back here. So your oil filter's here on this unit. And up here is actually another plate for that oil cooler. So the oil cooler actually feeds the oil from the engine block to the cooler in the radiator.
Okay.
And there's a gasket actually right there. So that gasket's bad. Which, it's only probably about a $10 gasket. So you'll be in luck there.
But how much work?
Not much labor either.
Oh,
You'll be
really?
lucky. You see there's 2 bolts there. I can actually get in there, take it apart, do
Okay.
it. So you're looking at a pretty cheap fix on that oil leak. And that's the bigger one.
Okay.
Looks bad, scared you, but it's not bad.
It did scare me. Thank you very much.
Someone's got to.
Yeah.
Keep you on your toes. You definitely do have another small oil leak you can see too from the back of the engine actually. It's running down the transmission. It's really hard to see, but it's running down the top of the transmission and the back of the engine right there. And personally, I believe it's probably going to be the valley pan, they call it, or the low intake manifold gasket, which is kind of prone on these things to leak. Next step would probably be to give it a good car wash, degrease it, and then, you know, once you fix this leak, we could keep an eye on that other one.
Okay.
See how bad you are. But
Okay.
leak-wise, dude, we just keep on going back here. Tranny's looking pretty dry. We don't see any major cavitation off of it.
And the
And the shifting was decent from what you could tell. Were you bringing it up to red line? Were you?
the shifting was decent for now.
Yeah, it wasn't banging in the gear too bad or slipping and
No.
stuck in a gear. All right, good. Transfer case is right here. You can see a little bit of moisture build up on it, an old residual. Nothing fresh. Nothing like that GMC we looked at where it was dumping down the side.
Yeah.
So over here we're looking pretty good in my opinion.
Okay.
I would like to check some of the fluids in the diff and the T-case in the rear end to verify your colors and see if you need to be serviced, because a lot of these older vehicles, people did not maintain them like they should sometimes, so they tend to have fluids that need to be replaced quite often. Oh, you got the same problem my man's got on his Suburban. A very small pinion leak. I wouldn't worry about it quite yet, but it's not dripping yet, is why I say that, but it's enough to actually cause a little moisture on the bottom, and it's not slinging. Once it gets bad enough, it's going to be spinning, slinging grease up on the exhaust and all over. So down the road, some more quality leaks for you to deal with, but you have time on that one.
Okay.
You want to see how beautiful your air suspension on this ride is?
Yeah, let's look.
So back here you have the beautiful, best air shock you've ever seen in your life. Oh, you see that, baby? The
Tell me,
convolute.
what do they call it? It's the road sensing suspension. Right?
Oh yeah.
RSS.
Oh yeah, because they have electronic actually device built into it as well.
I told you it was fancy.
Oh, for the age of it, like you said, they were trying to get more German on it.
So it's got a coil spring, and then in the shock absorber is the air unit. Huh?
Yeah, which is basically right here. You can feel it, and that fills up with air actually, and convolutes up and down to give you that soft, nice ride.
And that's what also levels the suspension when you put a trailer on it.
Exactly. That's what tries to pump it up and hold it.
But what was that noise when you started up? And
That's going to be the air compressor for this system. So these lines all route up and around, and they go to an air compressor, and that air compressor is rattling. So it's actually making noise, and when they go bad, they start rattling like that and causing trouble. What you really have to worry about is these getting gripped, and then you lose all the air, and then your compressor really goes into overtime and burns up the compressor.
This is not going to be great for off-road, Andre.
Well, we got a few things we've been looking at for that. You know, we have plans. A few zip ties, we'll get that up there somewhere.
What kind of collusion is going on over here?
Well, right here we got this suspension compressor that I was talking about. What's going on is this thing's rattling like this because all the rubber actual mounts for the compressor are just shot. It's been there so long. And basically, most of the time, the compressors start going bad slowly but surely, and it makes them vibrate more too. So, because internally the actual bearings and all the windings and start flapping in there.
oh, by the way, I have disc brakes in the back, no drums.
Weird. Is that because it's a Caddy?
Do you notice?
You don't need discs, Andre. They're rear brakes.
No, for towing heavy.
Yeah.
For towing heavy trailers, I gotta have discs.
Semis have drum brakes, Andre.
So he says he's got disc brakes, let's be honest. But he's got no brake pads left on the disc.
What?
5% if you're lucky. Almost metal to metal.
Really?
Mr. Cadillac.
Really?
Yeah, you want me to get you a mirror and a magnifying glass?
No, I have a mirror right here. Look at this. I have a mirror. Look at my hair. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
I'd say about 4% on that side.
4%?
Well, I don't want to give you the benefit of the doubt. I want to tell you how it is. Back here, actually, other than some of the brakes and some minimal stuff, we like to check the diff fluid and stuff, but I think back here's halfway decent. The rust buildup's very minimal. You do have a tad bit of rust buildup, but that's normal. Definitely not an East Coast car, I can tell you that. Alright, so we'll check the same thing. The bushings are actually looking a lot less dry rotted than the Suburban does. But, there's ups and downs to everything in life. Looks pretty tight actually on the bushings, on the lower control arms, so that's good news. shocks have a small seep out of them. I wouldn't replace them yet, but they are starting to seep a little bit of fluid out of them. See how much play we're looking like. You can see a minimal amount of play in that one. It's barely moving. A little bit there. So eventually it's going to definitely need some tie rod ends on it. Looks like. Check this one. Yeah, a little bit of play in that one too. These things are famous for front ends actually getting loose on them. So it's kind of a famous thing to happen. So
because it's for corner carving, you know?
yeah. A little bit of looseness there too. Your idler-arm, they call that. It's basically the pivot for your steering assembly. Upper ball joints seem to be pretty tight. Look at brake hoses here. They look pretty decent. I don't see a bunch of glide cracks in them. Have a nice little rust buildup on your rotors here. So you might have a little bit of brake noise on these fronts just because of the rust buildup. But you do have about 25 to 30% of pad life left. So you got a little ways.
It's okay.
Better than the back, you know.
Better than the rears.
Yeah, at least they're not down to nothing. So you got to feel good about that. But you know, you're going to be coming up, 20% of pad's going to get you by for a while.
All right, Toby, you've seen the GMC and you've seen the Cadillac. What's your call right now? Who did better, at least for the price?
I would say for the price, it's going to probably be this Cadillac. It does need some stuff, don't get me wrong, but the mileage is a lot better than his. You still got some, 30 plus K to work with. And then your oil leaks and your leaks, a couple of them are going to be relatively cheap to accomplish. And then some of the safety items, But at the same time, for the price, you're almost balancing out with that baby.
Have you smelled the inside of this thing? Does that sway your decision at all?
No, it's all in that lamb's cloth there on the ground. I told him, get rid of those babies. It's holding the smell in. It's going to be fresh as Cadillac leather by the time he's done with it.
Now finally, it's the biggest and the baddest, the Excursion. Toby.
One big unit you got there, sir.
So Toby, this thing, Nathan, you know Nathan. When he goes big, he goes big. And he found this gem. These are desirable for the most part.
Hard to find.
Hard to find. So here you go. I want to see your first impression, and let's get it in there.
Beautiful. Some keys for you if you'd like them, sir. They'll be there for you. Definitely got a little cancer, I can tell you that, first looks. Look at the carpet and the seats, the stainage. It needs a good rug doctoring and some tough stuff. This is a V10, you said?
Yeah.
All the spark plugs are still in the engine, it sounds like.
So far.
That's the first step with the V10. Alrighty, we have any ideas on the condition, state of this vehicle?
Yeah.
Four-wheel drive, AC, anything we know that doesn't work?
So this is Nathan's, right? So it was $8,000. Four-wheel drive works, AC works, transmission works, engine works. I would be curious though, when you drive it under hard throttle, it feels like there's a little noise coming out of the rear diff. But apart from that, it's the V10. It was a one-owner truck, and he said when he first bought it, a spark plug went shooting out of the block. And ever since then, it's been good, allegedly.
Did they put a helicoil or a time sode in the engine?
I think they put a time cert, to keep it in there. But this is the V10, so everyone wants the diesels, but the diesels are like 30 grand. And the V10s are a Triton, which is fine, but they have that habit of ejecting spark plugs.
Yeah, not enough threads in the cylinder head to hold them in.
Yeah. Do you like Excursions, Toby, or do you think they're kind of pointless?
They're a little too big for my likings. I do like them overall, but just the size of them, and living around where we live, you can't find a parking spot for these big vehicles no more.
Yeah, it's true.
You're basically on the very end up on a curb.
They put the 6-liter in these, too. Remember that debacle? Yeah. Curious if this will break your lift.
And so Nathan complained, or mentioned, not complained. He mentioned two more things. Under braking, it pulls one to the one side, and then the shift points, they're all a bit hard.
It's got a shiny new grill on it.
LED light!
LED light, baby.
Should we rev it like the others?
Yeah, we can start it up and let it idle. We want to hear this V10 and make sure it doesn't have rod knock, you know, make sure it's smooth, has no ticks, nothing like that. Exhaust leaks. This guy looks really good in that thing. Sounds like it, you know, it could have some ponies if you really made it.
Unlike the other two, right, Toby? This was based on the Super Duty back in the day. Ooh, how's the brake fluid?
The cleanest brake fluid I've seen yet.
What? Whoa!
It's so clean. Look, you can't even see that's in the reservoir. It's
Sure,
so clean.
it's not out of brake fluid?
That's why I had to check the count. So, you know, that's a good start. You know, we're starting somewhere on a high point, you know. This is half and half. It's kind of pink still. At least I'm seeing pink color.
Okay.
It's not. That's power steering fluid on this unit. Yeah, it's located on the fender well, you know, because that's the only spot they could find because they had such a big V10 engine to put in it.
Do you have to put the tire iron here underneath the hood?
Well, you know.
Touch it. It's really hot.
Well, that's why it's heated. That way, if you get a flat tire, you got heated tire iron.
Oh, like in the winter?
Yeah, in the winter. Your hands are warm, you're good to go. It's like a heating element, you know, for free. Well, look at our antifreeze here. You can see there is some buildup in the reservoir, some chunky, discolored buildup in all corners.
Yeah.
That scares me when I see that. That sometimes is a sign that someone might have put stop leak in the cooling system at one point in its life. The actual coolant itself looks pretty good. These usually have kind of a yellowish kind of, you know, tinted coolant. So overall, color-wise, it's looking decent, but that little crusties in there is never a good thing to see. Long dipstick? Whoa, where are we going?
Well, Nathan goes big when he goes big.
And it is Mercon fluid in the transmission, and it is clean. And it looks like his battery's a little old, too. It's a 19 battery from O'Reilly's, so it's a little old. Let's see if we can see anything else back in here real quick from the top, oil leak wise, or any buildup, or any mouse activity under the intake manifold, because they have a really nice spot for a mouse hut underneath the intake on these.
Oh, I see it. It goes deep.
Yeah. Little mouse house.
Oh yeah, we're talking, I'm pack rat size down there.
Little mouse pagoda under there.
Oh,
yeah.
beauty. Drive belt looks good. Got a really small amount of play in the fan clutch, but nothing that's going to leave them stranded or cause them too many issues.
This looks fresh too, almost.
Yep, upper radiator hose is new, you can tell, and it's probably cut to fit because you can tell it's not a straight cut right here. Someone, I don't know what they used, butter knife to cut through the leather, but it's crooked as you get, and over here is about a 1/4 inch off of over here, so that's the only thing I see, but the clamp is there and it's tight, and I don't see no leaks below it, so cool.
She's as big as a whale and she's about to set sail. And Toby, did you see this? Has Lionheart tires.
You know what else I seen just visually?
Lion claw.
Ooh, lion claw. It's that what takes out the whales nowadays is the lion claws, huh? You know what else I noticed?
What?
Someone's been driving this thing around in locked position this whole time on the pavement. So was someone doing 60, you know, was someone doing drag races in 4-wheel drive? They were definitely losing. Mm-hmm. I definitely would unlock that if it was me.
So apparently the previous owner put on manual lockers. And
Manual locking.
ones altogether.
Which is actually a good upgrade because you know they work every time. You just have to not be the white, you know, lazy American. Get out of the vehicle, lock them, unlock them.
Was that hurting the hubs or was it slowing them down or both?
Both. All of it. All of the above. So we can tell someone, number one, this is a steering shock. So this helps you with the dampening of the steering and helps that nice steering, you know, return and assist. Someone's been a little four-wheeling is the best way I could put it, and denting this up. You can see all the dents in it, which are old because it's rusted. So someone's done a little off-roading, which can be good and can be bad. So that tie rod end's tight. There's no play in it at all, which is good. Oh Lord, that one's very loose. Definitely has a lot of play in that. That steering box, and that one has a lot of play in it too. And that ball joint has a very small amount of play in it. Nothing to scare me. It looks like someone's probably done an upper at one point. Same thing, very minimal amount of play. You can see they're actually greasable ball joints, so they have grease oak on them, so it probably wouldn't hurt to go through this thing and give it a quick greasing of anything that's got a grease oak on it. That will extend the life of all the ball joints and all the components that have a grease oak. And same thing, all the ball joints seem to be tight, so he did pretty good there. Brakes here, about 25% of life left over there. About 25 to 30% there. One of the leaks I am seeing, which is kind of hard to miss, you got right here is an axle shaft that comes through all the way to the differential, and there's a seal just like Andre's. And basically inside there's the axle seal that's leaking just a little bit of fluid coming out of it. And it's definitely been leaking for a little time now because it's starting to come back and work its way back from driving. So we probably want to check some fluids in the diff and a few other things and verify that it's full. Looks like the axle dust, just a little dust seal, but it's broken into pieces. Keeps the dust out. This one on this side is on its way out, but it's not terribly bad yet. But it definitely has minimal amount of play. I can see some rust buildup actually on it. There's, some different color rust buildup inside there. That's a sign to me that it's lost all its grease and it's starting to go bad. So eventually it's going to need an axle shaft U-joint. Start taking a peek for some leaks, I guess. It's got a big radiator in it, I can tell you that. Got to keep that V10 cool somehow. Don't see any coolant leaks. All the hoses are looks like the lower radiator hose was replaced on this thing too. So someone definitely just went to town and replaced a couple radiator hoses on it.
For the cooling system?
Yeah. A little bit more rust. This has to be one that's got more rust on it out of the three of them. So someone's obviously done a transmission service and tried to fix a leak, I can tell, because they still have a leak.
Tried to fix a leak.
So someone's cobbled in a custom homemade bracket for the shifter cable, which is far from factory. And it looks like they over-tightened the bolt so much it actually is blowing the transmission gasket out. Because they over-tightened it and sandwiched it too much. Question is where's it leaking fluid? Ooh, that's not good.
What?
Well, you see right here on the side of the transmission right there? There's used to be more pieces of the transmission. Something really, really hard had to impact that to snap it like that. And I personally believe that it's seeping fluid through the case right there. So you can see it's wet and residual around it. So that tells me that 9 out of 10 right up there where that fracture is and the cracking, it probably has a little bit of a hairline crack somewhere and letting some tranny fluid out from the actual transmission case itself. So that's not good. It's actually like oil leaks wise, the motors looks pretty good, not a bunch of oil leaks like the other two.
Oh, did you hear that, Joey?
Let's check some of this exhaust system out. I hear either something rattling in this exhaust system. Oh, there she is. So, looks like she's got some rot going on here.
With the hanger.
Yeah, it's a muffler clamp, they would call this, and it's supposed to actually go right here and clamp. Right here, the exhaust slides apart and disconnects into two pieces. So it's going to need this cut off and a new muffler clamp put on, which is actually a cheap fix. But
okay.
I'm sure he would love that noise. That's just noise that he would love driving it down the road, I'm sure.
Not a lot of slop.
Yeah,
there.
not a lot of slop and nothing.
Any leaks on the transfer case back there?
It was spotless.
Wow, look at that.
That's what a spotless transfer case looks like, boys. Take note. Yeah, those GMC owners and those Escalade owners,
Oh.
Discs.
It's magic. We're talking about some pretty rusty on the inside of the rotor, so he might have a little brake squeak as well on this unit, but the pads themselves have about 70% of life left that I'm seeing. So definitely has some life left if he can deal with a little bit of a brake noise. Someone replaced this brake line relatively. You can tell it's new.
It's brand new. Apparently
hand bent it.
He was driving it right before he sold it to us, and it popped the brake line.
And the pedal went to the floor.
And lost it, yeah. Yeah, so I'm guessing this was probably rotted out or rusted out just enough that it blew, is my guess.
I like this, though. My favorite feature.
Musical.
The musical shock absorbers? Is that
Yeah.
just because they're cheap? They just...
Basically, there's a metal dust shield on the top of them, and they're getting old and loose, so the actual shock is moving around in that dust shield a little bit, has more play than it should, and that shield is rattling on the shock itself.
All right, Toby, so we've got 3 vehicles, and I've got 2 questions. First of all, which one is in the best shape currently, and which one is the best bang for buck?
Currently, the best shape would probably be this Excursion, unfortunately.
Wow!
Reason being is the less leaks they got going on, and overall less issues to deal with today.
Okay.
Okay.
Safety-wise, price, it's a little high. Don't get me wrong, but you get what you pay for nowadays.
Okay.
So this is a good example.
So value per money, who do you think did the best value per money?
I would believe that'd be you, Tommy. Cheap,
Yes!
4,000. It'll go quite a ways for that price.
And
right.
what did I win? What did I win?
An air freshener.
And the big pimp prize,
Can I use your dumpster though?
I would encourage removing those nice seat covers.
All right.
All right, let's do it.
Well, guys, this has been a huge amount of fun. If you have any service needs for your vehicles, check out German Auto. Toby's the man.
Thanks.
Boom.
Dude.
Appreciate it, guys.
We'll see you on the next one. Now let's go hit the trail, break them, and then bring them back here.
You need some gloves?
No, I'm
you
all
need
right.
some pliers.
I'm okay.
Don't forget, there's 3 more of those in the vehicle.
Yes. Better. On the next episode of Go Big.
In this video, we are doing first tracks in our 3 budget SUVs, and we wanted to do the stand-up for the intro, and we're already stuck. It's gonna be quite bumpy here. Oh, sorry, truck, full throttle. Come on, 5.7. Grip.
Come on, go. Okay, keep going.
Gotta use some speed. And just hope she goes up. And she